We, okay, sorry. We have a really beautiful session ahead of us, and I am so happy to be here as well. But before we dive into the session, I would like to invite one of the co-founders so that they can say something about Nuru Jamii Kenya. Concilia?
Hi, thank you, Angela. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Concilia Kisaka. I'm one of the co-founders of Nuru Jamii. My apologies. I'm not joining with a video, but I hope you can hear me. Yeah, so I am so thrilled to see every one of you, to see every single one of you here. Welcome to this session. Stand out to get hired. And before we dive into this incredible session with our amazing guests, I just want to tell us to just talk about to talk a bit about Nuru Jamii. If you've not heard of Nuru Jamii, or you've just seen it maybe on LinkedIn, but you're wondering what is Nuru Jamii. So Nuru Jamii is it's a Swahili phrase that means light of the community. Nuru means light, and Jamii means community. So Nuru Jamii Kenya is the community. And this was started last year. And it came from a roadblock that we had like reached after completing our journey in Salesforce with LX. And we reached that point where we were wondering, now what next? What do we do? We had no experience. Most of us had no previous experience with Salesforce. So this was a new thing for us. So after talking to a few people, we realized that it's not us alone. There are people who are also stuck like us. And our mission and vision is to equip Salesforce professionals with hands-on experience, not just trailhead is important, getting to learn to know and understand Salesforce, but also knowing how it's done, how projects are done. That's what we really wanted to be able to do and give people to understand how things are done in Salesforce in case you get a job and you feel, stuck. So Nuru Jamii is there to help you. It's there to bridge the gap from certification to gaining experience. So we are absolutely very happy to have you. And that's why we have our amazing guests who are here to help us know how to, transition, um, know how to make ourselves better and even visible. Because passing an exam proves your knowledge, but doing real work and building a real strong personal brand proves that you can handle the job. So they will show us exactly how to stand out and craft an undeniable CV. So I'm so excited. I hope you're excited with me. So get your notebooks ready, keep the energy high, and let's get an understanding of how we can get hired. So yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Concilia, for that powerful introduction. So today we are going to have a very powerful panel discussion, and we are going to have a live CV review, and then we will dive into Q&A. And yes, we are going to play a game today, and there are vouchers to be won. So please stay with us. So thank you so much. Tonight we are really privileged not to hear from just Salesforce professionals, but we are hearing from people who have actively shaped hiring decisions. Tonight we have Ashton and Hash who have seen, I would say, thousands of CVs. They have sat in rooms where shortlists were decided. They know how to make someone move forward, and they know what holds people back. And the most beautiful thing is they have agreed to share their insights with our community. So from today, instead of just guessing what recruiters want, tonight we are going to hear this directly. So I would like to take this opportunity and have them introduce themselves, and then we can move to the panel session. Thank you,
And take it.
Ashton.
Go ahead and take it away, Harsh. I'll let you go first.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Super glad to be here. I'm Harsh. I am a talent acquisition partner at Kixel, which is a Salesforce system integrator. I work day to day hiring Salesforce professionals across a range of roles, including admins, developers, consultants, architects, and my role really centers around understanding what makes a candidate real world business ready as opposed to just their technical capability. So I'm, really excited to present my insights and what hiring managers look for, what recruiters look for in this interview process. Before joining Kixar, before joining the Salesforce ecosystem, I was an HR business partner advising leaders on people strategy, performance management, organizational development. So all of that experience combined has given me a lot of insight into how business leaders think about talent and what are some of the things that are important to them. And I'm excited to share all of that insight with you.
Thank you, Harsh.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harsh. Kind of regret letting you go first. But no, Ashton McMillan, as it says there on the screen, I have currently my role as a talent and human resources analyst for the WK Kellogg Foundation. So in a much more broader HR role now where I'm overseeing things like employee relations, performance improvement plans, our educational reimbursement program. But prior to being in this role, I spent a good deal of time, probably about 5 or 7 years, in recruiting and senior talent acquisition roles, primarily within the technology space. And so, love to share the insight that I have on recruiting from various different roles, all the way from customer support, level 1, level 2, level 3, to network and system administrators and engineers, all the way up to a DevOps engineer and things of that nature. And so, I was very honored when the team reached out. I'm not sure who wrote my speaker profile, but you all did an awesome job, and I think gave me way too much credit. But hopefully, I can say something that'll help somebody on the call today just get that much closer to that opportunity that they're looking for. So glad to be here, and look forward to sharing insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashton and Harsh. And we are so happy. The community is so honored to have you. And thank you for honoring our invitation. Thank you so much. So we move straight to the panel. Going to start with you, Harsh, with the most obvious that you expect. When you recruit Salesforce professionals, what are the top skills you expect from a strong early career Salesforce admin, just beyond having the certification?
Of course. So when you're thinking someone who's early career and they're working on their certifications, what I'm looking for is more how can they tie their learning into business impact, and also how can they demonstrate ownership? Because yes, we have early career professionals, but they might have done a lot of work in their past life where they have led teams, they have led processes and built systems or owned and managed systems, and all of that signals to me that there's a sense of independent work and ownership, and that's what I'm looking for in early professionals. So if the first thing that I look at everyone's profile, it would be their CV or their LinkedIn, correct? So what would make me read through that CV outside of that title would be a few things. I would say on the top of your profile or on the top of your CV, I want to see relevance and clarity. This structure really works for me as when I'm kind of applying for jobs or when I'm looking at CVs as well. If you have a strong header where you mention the role that you're targeting, follow that with three top skills of your target role that are being asked for repeatedly in the job descriptions that you're seeing. So it's not header and bullets, it's more so just a solid block with title, skill number A, flows and automations. 2, reporting and dashboards. 3, data management. All three written down together. That tells me that you're doing the work that I'm looking for. And then that is going to make me want to look further into your profile. And then in that next section, I would recommend writing like a 2 to 3 line summary of your applied work in Salesforce. So even if you've done only certifications, haven't held a real Salesforce role, You might have done sandbox orgs or demo builds, or you might have done, trailheads, all of that. If you can package it in a way that it says, this is a solution that I built, this is the problem that I was looking to solve, this is the impact that it would have, even if it's in a simulated environment, that tells me strategic thinking. That tells me that you can connect problems to solutions in that Salesforce ecosystem. That tells me that you've had hands-on building experience. And those are the things that are going to help you get to that interview stage. And then when it comes to that interview stage, I would love to hear you elaborate on some of those builds that you've done and, how did you think about it? One question that I do ask all my candidates is, tell me your end-to-end solution design process. How did you think about what you're going to build? And that is a very key skill for any system integrator or any kind of like customer of Salesforce as well, because can you really understand business processes? Can you really understand how the system would solve it? So just having that kind of strategic mindset and showing hands-on build work, even if it's volunteer, even if it's projects, even if it's sandbox, I want to see that. And that's what would make me want to continue the conversation.
Okay, thank you, Harsh, for that. And maybe to ask a follow-up question in regard to that, you find many job descriptions combine admin and developer expectations. So from your experience, what skills should the certified admins or the aspiring admins focus on first, and what can they learn later?
So we do see this quite often because teams are usually lean and we want folks who can wear multiple hats. But if you're someone who is trying to pace out your learning or your project work, I would say focus on the focus on the declarative solutions first. The reason why I say that is because anything that's out of box capability from Salesforce would be preferred as a solution from a client because it's easier to maintain and it's easier to scale. And that scalability and maintainability is going to be top of mind for everyone. Once you have gotten super confident in your flows, your validation rules, your reports and dashboards, all of that things, then move on to Apex and LWC. And one of the things that I tell my candidates as well, that the reason why I always ask them why we're looking for someone who at least knows Apex and LWC, even if they are not kind of in-depth coder, is because as an admin, when you're trying to design a solution or you're trying to configure a platform, if you know Apex and LWC, you know what the possibilities are outside of the out-of-box capability. So when you've hit a roadblock, from that out-of-box capability, you know that you can tap a dev in because they can do something with Apex. And you can explain it to them so much more confidently. You can collaborate with them so much better. So even if it's just a basic knowledge of code, not you having hands-on coding experience, that makes you stand out because that makes you a stronger collaborator. And that makes you, that just open up your mind in terms of solutions thinking. So that's where it kind of ties in as to why people want admins to have dev skills as well, just to keep it kind of well-rounded and 360. But if you're trying to prioritize what to learn, definitely admin, definitely out-of-box flows, validations, all of that, declarative automations. And then when you're super confident in that, you move to Apex.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harsh. You can have a rest for a minute. Now, Ashton, up to you. So many of our members are transitioning from sales, marketing, banking, administration, variety of roles. How can they translate that experience into Salesforce relevant skills?
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's a great question. It's something that we should cover in preparation for this call. Of course, I was doing my research and I have one of the things pulled up that I see here because you speak about transferable skills, right? And those are very, very important, along with a lot of the things that Harsh brought up, right? Yes, it's one thing to say I have transferable skills, but also with those, can you speak one to one with what the job actually needs, right? And so just reading here from a link that I have up, the question is, what is a Salesforce admin? And it says a Salesforce admin build and manage trusted solutions on the Salesforce platform. Admins configure, automate, and optimize Salesforce to effectively utilize the CRM system and maximize value. And so when I read that, when I hear, okay, what transferable skills, regardless of what industry I'm currently in or what my job is, what I hear is anything that you can communicate on a resume or a cover letter or anywhere within the application prior to being able to interview with somebody is, what experience do you have building things that other people have to use, and how did you build that effectively? Harsh brought up a good point when she talked about end-to-end solutions, right? So for instance, for myself, I came from a retail management background, right? And so when I was looking to get into recruiting, which at the time I went into more of like a sales styles recruiting because I was working for an IT agency company and we were hiring contractors, right? And so the one thing that I made sure to communicate was, yes, I know how to communicate with people, but also I know how to grow a sales portfolio, right? And so this is where I started. This is how I built a relationship, and then this is how I grew that relationship over time with these various customers as a retail manager. And so again, going back to that key point, when it comes to sales administrators specifically, anything that you have built, whether it be from the ground up like a 0 to 1 solution, or you took something that somebody else built and enhanced it that much more, any experience that you have that can kind of explain that, I think would probably be the number one transferable skills if I was looking for these type of roles, as like what I would communicate.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashton. And maybe to ask, sometimes career transition feels messy and disjointed. You find you have experience in a different field and now you're transitioning to Salesforce. Feels like you have two CVs. What is the simplest way to reorganize a CV so that a recruiter immediately sees clarity and direction?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, and I'm not sure who is not on mute, but if you could please mute yourselves. But no, it's a great question, and I would say, as far as making it very easy, for a recruiter to immediately see that clarity in that direction. I've always told individuals who I'm helping get a job, or even those that I'm even doing an initial screen with, is that if you wait for the hiring team or the recruiter to connect those dots, it's probably not going to happen, right? And so my model and the way that I've used, some of the things that I've done to clearly communicate what I want to do and the job that I want, is I always, right at the top of my resume, have some form of, some people call it like an objective summary or professional summary, where you blatantly state, hey, this is what I've done, this is the experience that I have, and then with that experience, this is exactly how I want to bring that experience into this company's environment, and help you all continue to grow. And so don't leave it up to chance, don't leave it up to guessing or second guessing. Blatantly state that, either in a professional summary or an objective summary at the top of the resume, and or if you are submitting a cover letter or any other supporting documentation with the application, again, just making it very clear with your words, because unfortunately a lot of times you don't get the opportunity to talk to somebody before they see your resume or your cover letter. That's kind of like what gets you in the door. And so don't try to make it confusing, don't try to be fancy with it. It's just like, hey, here's who I am, here's the experience that I have. Because I have that experience, here's how I can see myself adding value and attempting this organization to helping fill those gaps.
Thank you so much, Ashton. That was
If
clear.
I, sorry, Angela, if I may elaborate on that just a little bit, just because of the level of learning that you all do in the Salesforce ecosystem and the trailheads and all, if you have done simulated environments, write that as Salesforce project work as your first entry in your job. When you're starting your work experience, the very first entry, Salesforce project work or Salesforce demo work, something like that. And then put the dates next to it from when you started that learning journey to the end of that learning journey. That kind of can add that you've been in the systems for this very long. And then in that bullets, write outcome-driven language. Like if you simulated, say, 100 users and built a solution for that, whether it was a sales demo or a service demo, whatever it was, write it in an outcomes-driven language, write those bullets. But when you're presenting it in this way, still make it clear that you're not necessarily doing it for a client or at a job. Own that you've done it in a simulated environment, own that you've done it in a sandbox, but you have done the work. So that is transferable to a real life client. And this can include your volunteer work as well. If you've been doing volunteer projects, include it there. And that can be kind of your first bullet, first section of your work experience. And even that would make sense to a recruiter to read further, and that can position you more as a entry-level admin, junior admin, and not someone who's kind of fully green in the ecosystem, you know?
Yeah. Thank you, Harsh. Back to you. You actually answered the question before I asked it, so thank you so much. So when it comes to speaking the business language in the industry, what does it actually mean for a Salesforce admin in an interview?
Talk about the processes and the impact when you're tying solutions to business impact. So if you're thinking that you build a flow or an automation, talk about how it reduces manual entries, how it reduces manual work and removes error, and just helps that efficiency, you know, increasing visibility, increasing data accuracy, because those are the things that are going to matter to your client at the end of the day. They're not technical. They're not going to know what Salesforce platforms can do. What they want to see is how is it impacting their teams? How is it in fact impacting their processes? So whenever you're talking to someone, just talk about impact. Yes, talk about solution. You can position it like, this is what I built, this is why it mattered, this is what it solved. That with that structure, you can really position yourself as someone who has that kind of like thoughtful, solution-oriented mindset, and just improving process. Sorry, I got distracted by a question in the chat. I'll get back to that, but yeah, just going back to the business language. Another thing to do is really researching the industry that you're going after. If you're interviewing for a particular company, research what industry they're in, research what their processes look like and what matters to them, and also the person that you're talking to. If you're talking to someone who is on a managerial level, they might care about efficiency and processes. If you're talking to someone who is a little more senior than that, they might care about reporting and dashboards, or you know, what business metrics that you can improve on with your solutions. So fine tune your answers in an interview with the industry that you're targeting, the industry language. Just see, you know, if it's healthcare, what are some of the things that matter to them? What are some of the things that they speak? If you're talking to someone in finance, you're going to have to talk about the finance and return on investment language. If you're talking to a delivery manager, you're going to have to talk about the processes. So really just understanding your audience, understanding what's important to them, and fine-tuning your answers based on that, and tying back your solutions to what matters to your audience is what's going to make you stand out.
Thank you, Harsh, for
Yes.
that. That is very clear. And this one could go to either of you because it's a different perspective. So from a recruiter's perspective, when you look at a CV, what makes you feel like this person is ready for real world Salesforce work? And what are the most common gaps you see in candidates who are certified but they're still not getting interviews?
Really the positioning and weak resume signal. So if I'm seeing a CV and if I'm seeing certifications on it, that's great. So it's a great, you learned a lot. But when I'm talking to my hiring managers, they are looking at hands-on builds. They're looking at implementations as opposed to certifications. So while certifications are nice to have, they don't matter as much in the real world as what you've done hands-on. So if you can, yes, list your certifications on your CV. that's great. But if you can list your skills, if you can list the hands-on builds that you've done, summarize that in your top 2 to 3 line summary, summarize that in your first block of your work experience where you mentioned your Salesforce relevant experience. That is going to get you interviews. And also just the keywords, like when you're writing these bullets in your resume, ensure that you're talking the same language as the job posting, or, talking the language of the Salesforce ecosystem. So designed, implemented, owned, led, phrases that show ownership as opposed to support or assistance, because a lot of times we're looking for owners. We're looking for folks we can tell, hey, like this is a problem, go run with it, and they can just run with it. So that kind of like independence and ownership, and also the complexity of the builds that you might have done. Be specific about the scope of the thing that you built, how many users, what kind of flows or automations, what was the complexity, sorry, all of that, number of objects created, things like that. If you're clear about that, that can tell a recruiter just how complex are the things that you built. And if they're looking for someone who can handle high complexity, you're the one that they will call. So just those are the few things that you can highlight in your CV. Is there anything that in the question that I missed?
Yeah, I think that was a great answer, Harshan. I came off mute to kind of add in that second piece that you just talked about. When it comes to, please make sure you're adding in, like she said, the scope of the job and the metrics around like what you've done, because that's the very next question that comes to mind. Sometimes it's clear because if it was for, a company that, this hiring team might be familiar with, or like a competitor of theirs or something like that, then they know about their environment. But unless you tell the recruiter or the people that are going to be looking at your resume what the scope of that environment was, there's no way that they're going to be able to know that. And sometimes I've oftentimes seen that to where the person who adds a little bit more clarity around the scope, how that just makes it that much more, it makes their profile and their CV that much more attractive, because the more questions as the candidate you can answer for the hiring team and the less work that they have to do, the easier it is for them to begin to think about, like, hey, yes, I want to talk to them. Oftentimes the way that we communicate on paper is the same exact way that we communicate verbally, right? Written translates directly to verbal communication, and if it's tough for somebody to understand what you've written down, it's probably going to be that much more tough for them to understand what you're saying. So yes, please do all of that Harsh said, but do not leave out the numbers, because that provides great clarity around exactly what you've done, not just an overarching concept of what you've done. So
Thank you so much, Ashton. The most interesting thing is I just feel like you're speaking directly to me. So when it comes to when it comes to now we have spoken into the CV, how we should have the headlines. Now when it comes to LinkedIn, when a recruiter is looking at your profile, the LinkedIn headline and the summary for like someone who is certified but not yet hired, how should it look like so that recruiters still take them seriously? And what kind of activity helps early career professionals to stand out without feeling like they are making a lot of noise in the platform?
So I'll tell you what are the things that I look at when I'm looking at a LinkedIn profile, and I believe that that would resonate with a lot of recruiters out there as well. I do look at certs because you can put certifications in your LinkedIn profile. If someone has a lot of certs, that's great. That might be because they have a lot of exposure to different real world scenarios. They might have exposure to multiple tools and capabilities, and that's a good thing. Then skill matching is another thing that's important. So when in your skill section in LinkedIn, you should put, I would recommend like 20, up to 20 skills. 20 can be a lot, but at least 10 to 20 skills that are repeatedly asked for in the jobs that you're applying for. Because when a recruiter looks at a LinkedIn profile, if they have LinkedIn Recruiter, the skills that match the most with their job posting or job description, they're always going to be at the top of their search list, and the rest are going to be at the bottom of their search list. So if you can optimize your skill list in a way that it targets 10 to 20 skills that are repeatedly being asked in your job descriptions, you will be at top of their list, and then they'll be more likely to click on your LinkedIn profile. Another thing about Salesforce ecosystem, which I kind of really like, is that it really close knit. So outside of optimizing what your profile looks, oh, actually, before that, in your work experience as well, the resume bullets that you're putting in your resume, same way, just put all the bullets in your work experience in LinkedIn as well. Because at times, if I'm not seeing a resume first, I'm seeing a LinkedIn profile first. And if someone has just job titles, dates, and companies, I don't know what you've done. And then I will pass on that LinkedIn profile. So if you have job bullets, 5 to 6 bullets, doesn't have to be a lot, of the work that you've done in that space. And if you're specifically targeting a Salesforce role, make those bullets in a way that they show your transferable skills. So, for example, if you come from a sales background, you might have worked with pipeline management or lead generation or opportunities or reporting and dashboard, all of that ties into CRM. So if you can take what you've already done, write it in a way that it's transferable to your Salesforce career aspirations, the first 2 to 3 bullets in your work experience should be those transferable skills, and written in the Salesforce language. And then coming back to just optimizing your connections on LinkedIn as well, because it is a very close-knit ecosystem. And I feel like everyone knows everyone when I'm talking to my candidates, at least here in North America. So reach out to people for like a 15-minute coffee chat, say, hey, I am looking to, transition into a Salesforce career. If they have time for it, they will make time for it and they will have that conversation. I have met candidates that way. Even if I couldn't hire them because my projects were too complex, they left an impression. And, down the line, when they're 2, 3 years into their role and they have more exposure, I would love to reach back out to them because now they are kind of at the level that supports my projects. So even if in your early career, if you're reaching out to recruiters, if you're reaching out to team members in a Salesforce company, implementation partner, system integrator, make those connections, have those conversations. And if they don't have something for you immediately, you will have left an impression so they can reach out in the future, or you would have left an impression so they can tell you, they can send your profile over to someone in their network who can leverage your skills. Another thing I want to call out there is recruiters particularly get a lot of messages like this. So there is a chance that you won't hear back immediately. So what I recommend doing in that case is finding someone from their team. So as a recruiter, if my inbox is like 100 messages and I'm having a tough time going through it, maybe reach out to one of my delivery managers or one of my admins or my consultants. And chances are their LinkedIn wouldn't be as busy as mine is. And when they see your message, 90% of the time, they'll be happy to pass your profile on. And they send me a Slack message internally saying, hey, this person reached out to me. They're interested in learning more about Salesforce opportunities. And even that way, I'm at least getting to look at your profile. And if your profile stands out, I'll reach out. Or even if just as a courtesy to my colleague, I'll reach out because, you reached out to them. We want to have that kind of employer credibility, branding, all of that as well, right? So, do not give up on just reaching out to recruiters or just submitting an application. Reach out to someone else on the team if you're not hearing back, and just increase your chances on at least getting seen, if not getting hired, because that would still open up doors for you.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely. Love that, Harsh. And not to, make this answer too long, Harsh is really good at what she does. I just want to, iterate that. The two things that I kind of want to add to exactly what she said is if I could sum all of that up and even some of the thoughts that I have in my head about this particular question, I really love the way that it was phrased by ending with making sure that candidates aren't feeling as if they're just posting noise, right? Because I think you do see some folks fall into that trap. But if I could wrap all of these answers into one question, it would be, what are you doing to be as close to the work as you can, right? So if you're not, again, actually in the seat or actually doing the work, what are you posting? What are you doing? Who are you connecting with? What skills do you have that are transferable, but also directly related to that work? I'll call out two of the things that I make sure to do and have been doing on my profile all the way even back to 2013 when I first created my LinkedIn profile. Is that when it comes to the experience that I have, I never just put my title and then make sure that I tag the company. But even if it's just 2 or 3 sentences, I make sure to post in the actual job description, like in that portion of my experience, what that company does and what they stand for, any accolades that that company or awards that company has, and then I follow that right up with some bullet points. And then also, I think a very, very untapped section of everybody's LinkedIn profile is a recommendation section. So you can choose, like on the back end in your settings, how to structure your LinkedIn profile. But I have always made sure when I'm leaving an organization or when I know somebody is retiring that I work very closely with, to send them a link to leave me a recommendation on my profile. Because essentially what that is it's kind of like a reference without having to reach out for a reference, right? And say, oh, somebody from so and so company is going to be calling you. But if you're working on a project, if you've done something alongside somebody else and they're also on LinkedIn, regardless of what that relationship is, you all can exchange recommendations and say, hey, leave a recommendation on my profile. So then that way, when somebody comes to my profile, not only have I done the things to make sure that I'm listing everything that would attract a recruiter, but they'll also see like, oh yeah, they actually work, they're a human and they've done this work and they've also worked with somebody else who is a human, right? Who can vouch for what it is that they say that they've done. And so I always like to call that out when speaking about, really presenting yourself on LinkedIn. And so again, to wrap that up, what are you doing that will put you as close to the work that you want to do as possible if you're not currently doing that work? And that's something that's very clear and will be seen. So
Sorry, Angela, you're mute.
Sorry. Thank you so much for this. Before we move to the CV review session, I would like to ask this to both of you. You could have different opinions, which is quite okay. So in our job search journey, we have different approaches. We ask for referrals, we follow job boards, but we have the LinkedIn open to work banner. People have different opinions about that. Some people say too much availability kills value. Some people say you're telling people you're available instead of showing what you can do. And then on the other side, other people say there's no shame in saying I'm trying to get a job. So what do you think about it?
I would love to take that on, and I have heard it both ways. The contradictory kind of like sentiment that you just spoke about, Angela. I'll say in tech world, I think it's very much dependent on the kind of industry you're in and the role that you're going after. If you are an admin, developer, someone in a tech role that open to work, for me, for a recruitment agency, I know someone posted in the chat about difference between an in-house recruiter and an external agency as well, which we can get to in the Q&A session. But if someone is open to work, if I have a project that's kicking off in 2 weeks and I need to hire someone ASAP, someone open to work is the one that I would reach out to much faster or like first than someone who doesn't have that open to work badge. And for professional services, because it is so volatile and the project kicking off, because the deal is signed, we need to get started. Do we have enough resources? We try to plan ahead as much as we can. We try to recruit ahead 2 months in advance on what we have in our pipeline. But there are going to be chances when there are last minute project kickoffs and we need someone immediately. Who am I going to talk to in that case, I'm going to talk to the people who are open to work right now, as opposed to people who don't have that badge, and I don't know if they are immediately available or not, you know. And same with the external agency recruiters as well, because they're trying to hire fast. They're also trying to hire high quality, yes, but they're also trying to like hire with speed. And in those cases, they might also prioritize people who have that open to work badge. When it comes to more leadership roles, more strategic roles, maybe open to work isn't seen as high value as opposed to a tech role, because those are the roles where, you know, people want to be slow, they want to be intentional about who they're reaching out to, and then that open to work role doesn't do any negative, it doesn't do any favors, it doesn't matter in those cases. But for a tech role, go for it, have that open to work badge, because chances are someone needs you immediately, and you might get a call sooner than later in those scenarios.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I second all of that, and I would just like to say that in all the time that I was in recruiting, I never reached out to somebody simply because they had to open a work badge, right? I'm going to see that, I'm going to recognize it, and then I'm going to scroll, I'm going to look at their skills, I'm going to look at what they can do, but I just want that to be known. Like, I don't think, hopefully, there's never a recruiter out there who has used that as the sole indicator as to why they would or why they wouldn't reach out to somebody. So it's a personal preference. And then I also like to point out that if a recruiter does have access to LinkedIn Recruiter, there is a way to in the back end settings of your LinkedIn profile to show that you are open to work, but only to the recruiters that have LinkedIn Recruiter. So you can kind of do like a both and, but that's really, just a personal preference and up to the candidate themselves.
Thank you so much for that. That was amazing. It was packed. So right now we can now, it's okay. We will have a Q&A after this. So just keep your questions on the comments. We'll also have you speak. So we can move to the CV review right away.
Uh, Hi, Ashton and Hash. Will you be able to share your screens, maybe with the CVs, the one that you'll be reviewing?
Okay, I think maybe Harsh and I were under the impression that you all would be sharing them. You wanted us to share the. Okay, I think I'm bringing those up here. Okay. All right. Would you all like one of us, either Harsh or myself, to share the resume?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
And then what I will do, just to protect the overall integrity, and maybe you all have talked to them already, but I'll scroll like past the personal information, and then I can share here. Can everyone see that now?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay. So you all tell me how you want me to run and scroll, or not do or do. I'm open to either way.
You can just go through the sections as
Okay.
you meant, and the
Got it. Yeah.
gaps and what is wrong.
No, for sure. Yep. So, we have it's named profile here. This is kind of that section that I was talking about earlier, like that objective summary, a professional summary. Those career objectives are blatantly stated as well. Educational background, professional work experience, key skills, certifications awarded. And then this person was also sure to add in some of their hobbies as well. So, how about we do it this way? So, since I'm sharing my screen, Harsh, if you would like to kind of go through some of the pieces that you see, I'll add anything that I see, and then we can do the flip flop for the other one when it comes
Got
time.
it.
Yeah.
Um, the very first thing, the profile, the summary on top. I'm an open-minded junior database administrator with a flexible approach to work. It's good, but is it tailored to the role that you're applying for? Are you looking to be a Salesforce administrator? Or what kind of database are you kind of applying for? It's not specific enough, in my opinion. So one thing I would call out is just make it specific and make it, again, center it around what you built, why it mattered, what processes it, what problem it solved in as brief as you can make it. So I would like to say, like, this is my very first impression of you. I want to see what you've done, which is relevant to the role that you're applying for, and then I'll move forward. Well, this is great. This tells me that this person's, really ambitious, really kind of has great work ethic, has great kind of like learning orientation, growth mindset, all of it. It's not telling me what they've done, which is relevant to the role in the summary. And then career objectives, I would sum it up in like one line and put it right there in the summary at the very end. So when you're writing that 2 to 3 line summary, maybe make it 4 line. The very last line can be, this is all the work that I've done. This is what my objective is in order to continue my career, where I want to go from here. Instead of having 5, 6 bullet points, these are all the things that you can discuss in interviews when you're talking about your growth goals on your resume. Make it concise and make it relevant. Concise and relevant, that should be the key. And then before putting your education background, I would like to see your work experience first, because education is great. It gets you where you want to go. But if I'm pressed for time, like I know like a lot of people hear that recruiters only spend a matter of seconds on resumes. That's in most cases it's true, you know. So you want to signal on the top what your relevance is to make them read further, and that educational background is not as important to a recruiter as your work experiences. So your work experience should go before the educational background. And in this person's work experience, Ashton, if you mind scrolling down just a little, where it says work experience, they've said 2025 Aga Khan Hospital attachment. It doesn't say anything about the scope of the work. It doesn't say anything about what they did. I want those details. Like, this is where I want detail. I want at least 7 points of the work that you've done, maybe 5 to 6, depending on how many sections of work experience you have. If you have a lot, you can keep it short. If you have 1 or 2 previous jobs, you can make it like 7 to 8 points. But relevancy to the job description and detail in the work experience section is what's going to stand out to a recruiter as opposed to everything else that's mentioned here. Key skills, just keep the bullets. You don't need descriptions in that. You can keep the bullets and you can discuss those in an interview. Like all of these, your recruiter would look at your resume and they'll say, okay, these are the things that you've done. Great. Tell me more about it. And that's where you can elaborate on these things. Certifications in a tech kind of ecosystem, yes, they stand out. So you should absolutely keep your certifications, and it is a good idea to keep them at the very last after your work experience. So you can have a work experience, certifications, education, that kind of signal, and then skills at either a side or skills go at the top, because skills are the first thing that the recruiter is going to look at as well. So skills have to be highly visible, certifications have to be highly visible, work experience has to be detailed enough and relevant enough, and then the top has to be written in a way that catches the person reading's eye, like, and they want to read further. That's what I would say about this resume.
Thank you.
Yeah,
course.
thank you so much, Harsh. And then were you able to locate the email with the so you could share the other one or
I was trying to find it, to be
okay.
honest, and I
Yeah.
couldn't.
No worries. No worries. Let me stop share here really quick and then I will pull up the other one and then I'll just I will share and then go through that one. Uh Thank you so much for
Oh, thank you for
being willing
sharing it.
to yeah, being
Um,
willing to go first.
I have it if you want me to share. I found it.
Okay. Yeah, yep, it's the yeah, I think you know which one that one the one I wasn't showing. So yeah, if you could share and then I can do what you did on this one.
What is the patience time?
Say that one more time, Harsh.
I was just saying thank you for your patience. Will be
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Yep.
fine. Thanks. Here you go.
Alrighty, here we go. Thank you. Okay, and just at a quick glance, I can see that some of the advice that Harsh was giving to the other one will also be relevant here as well. So again, I think at the top that objective is, always good to have there, kind of like I was talking about, blatantly stating, what you've done, what you're interested in, what you're interested in. And so with this being my first time seeing this resume or this CV, I'll read it here verbatim, similar to how Harsh did. So it says Salesforce Certified Platform Administrator with the MSc in project planning and management and a background in construction project management, skilled in CRM management, user support, and process automation. So already right away, I think we can see a clear difference in between the two, to where this one is much more detailed. Right, if I'm reading this and I'm a person who looks for these skills within these environments, as a recruiter, I'd be able to very quickly identify, whether or not this person knows what they're talking about or whether they do not. And so it ends with adept at troubleshooting, training users, and ensuring system compliance to support business goals. And so what this person did was they worked a little bit more strategically with that space. So if we're comparing and contrasting, so on the other one, it was the objective, and then kind of like those career objectives right under there, and or skills. What this person is, they kind of combine them, and so they're already listing some of those skills that may be very specific, but also transferable, to the role that they are applying for. Similar to Harsh said to the last one, the education piece can be saved for later on if for whatever reason a candidate wants to replace this with a different section that may be more that may be better used, or that space may be better used on the resume, and they were just adamant about that, then I would put the skills over the education in this section, and kind of save the education towards the end. Okay, and I also see, all right, okay, so I also see that they combine the certificates there as well. So that can, be in a different section or combined with the education. Professional experience. Okay, so this one has a little bit more meat to it. I see that there was a data analyst for 1 month. Again, spelling that out with a lot more detail and having more bullet points of, okay, what was actually done, what was the scope of this work, as the data analyst. I know it was, just 1 month, but in the age of artificial intelligence and really just being able to use some of those advancing technologies to our advantage, what I would do if I was this person, because it does seem like it was hard to say, okay, with this 1 month, how do I really spell out that experience, is I would kind of work alongside maybe a chat bot or two and say, hey, here's the job description, for that data analyst role. Can you help me explain, in a very good way and concise way, what was done and the skills that I gained within this role, just to again give that professional experience section some more meat, to what was done. And then if we scroll down a little bit more, Harsh, curriculum, detailed proposal, comprehensive breakdown, including project, solution design, outlining the complete sales. Oh, okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, Harsh, but it looks like they did do that. I just didn't connect those dots. Is that what I'm seeing there?
Yeah, they did kind of
Okay.
mention everything that they built in that program. I would just make it cleaner so it's, bullet, 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 bullet. This is what you've done.
Right, yeah, because at first glance, so if you can scroll up a little bit more, I don't know if it's because it's on a different page, but maybe the formatting of those two lines at the top and the bottom, in my brain when I saw it at first glance, I separated the two. So like I saw the title, the role, how long you did it, and then that line made me like, oh, okay. In my head, those two separated. So if you continue to scroll down to the next description, okay. Career development and job placement strategies, okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is built out a little bit more than I originally thought. Just looking at it. If you can continue to scroll down, so I can see the next section. Okay. Project management work. Okay. Budgets, things of that nature. The only thing I think that this professional experience section is missing. I see the dates there. I see the title. I see the company and even the location. Is kind of like we were talking about before. Adding in those metrics and those numbers to give the story of the role and what you did just a little bit more clarity of what that environment looked like. And then if you can scroll down a little bit more, Harsher, so I can see the rest of it. Skills section, certificate of completion, disaster.com. Okay. Yeah. Scroll one more time. I think we'll need to do. Yeah. So, um, completion of leadership training. Okay. For some of these, I think it's good that the person considered all of the skills and things that they learned, but just to not make the resume or the CV so long, for each one of these skills, I would have kind of advise them to maybe chop it down to maybe like the top three that they're like, hey, if I didn't learn anything else, these are the things that I learned within these positions in these certificate programs. Just because, again, kind of like Hart stated, unfortunately, due to the competition in the market, a lot of times, recruiters, if they are the ones that are reviewing the resumes, they have to do it, very quickly, not only to prepare for the conversation, but to really understand what this candidate has done. And sometimes, if you're scrolling too far, unfortunately, in the mind, it might trigger like, this is a lot, versus making it more concise and speaking to it directly, clearly. And again, like I stated before, the way that somebody communicates on paper is typically the way that they communicate verbally. And so, I hate to say it, but I might be preparing myself for a very long conversation if this is my first experience with them, and this is my first exposure to their profile and their background. So that's what I have to give. I'm sure Harsh maybe have maybe a couple more points when it comes to this resume, but those are some of my initial thoughts without going into too much detail and not knowing like exactly what role this person was applying for with this particular resume.
Definitely. Thank you, Ashton. That was really well put. If I have to add a few things, I would say that I do really like how this person has included their internship programs, whether it's a Talent Accelerator or Talent Stack or Salesforce. Instead of mentioning what you did in the way that you've done it, it's a lot of detail and it's good to have detail, but that detail has to have structure and coherence. Like Ashton mentioned, the way people speak on paper might be the same way they speak on a conversation, a verbal conversation. And I want to see relevance. And the way you can show relevance is, again, tie it back to the job description. If you're targeting an administration role, know what they need you to do on a day-to-day, and add those bullets of saying like, hey, this is something that I have already done um, in my cohort for accelerator program. So just keeping it relevant, keeping it concise is really beautiful and will get you a conversation much faster. Over here as well, like you've mentioned Salesforce administration, you've mentioned the kind of work you've done. I'm not saying ownership. I'm not saying what is it that you owned here, what was the problem you were trying to solve. It's a lot of skills, it's a lot of technical skills, and technical skills on their own don't make strong candidates. Story, relevance, business impact makes a strong candidate. So if you can take all of this, like the Salesforce platform admin, 6 month of work, all the technical skills listed here, keep them in the skill section. Over here, I want to see what did your day-to-day as a platform administrator at ALX Africa look like? What were the conversations you were having? What was the decisions you were making? What were the things you were building? And how did you kind of, improve things or set new processes in place? And following, going back to Ashton's point about metrics, like what were the improvements? What were the metrics on those improvements and outcomes that you saw? Those are the things that I want to read in a CV as opposed to the skills that you have. Um, and then this one, project manager, project supervisor, super important in a Salesforce ecosystem because there are times you'll be managing a full implementation or configuration by yourself. This is where you can write those transferable skills. Like, yes, you've written that, you develop detailed project plans, timelines, schedules, ensure project completion. This is what I mean by signaling transferable strengths, because these things are going to be what's needed in your next Salesforce career as well. So highlight this as much as you can, but you don't need too much detail. You don't need to tell exactly, which project, all of it. I really want to see title, dates, the place of work, and what you did. That what you did and how you thought about it is what's going to make me want to talk to you, as opposed to too much detail. And over here as well, like all of this is great education, but is this relevant to the role that you're targeting? If it is not, just keep the title of your trainings if you really are passionate about it, and if it is relevant, sure, keep the title, do not go into detail, because if it comes up in a conversation, you can give detail in your interview, but your resume has to get you to that interview, and that is going to do that if it's relevant, if it's concise, if it's clear, if it's nicely structured. So, and like Ashton mentioned, you can use so many tools out there today. Just put it in ChatGPT, say like, hey, I need this resume to be cohesive. I need it to be relevant to this job description. Can you write it out for me in a way that it's kind of, you know, outcome-driven bullets? It will do the work for you. It will take your existing resume and make it so that it stands out in a sea of resumes, and that's what you want to do.
Thank you so much, Harsh. Interesting points to note. We have so many questions in the Q&A, so I will read them for you in no particular order. I see some people are asking if you can review their CVs, but in the interest of time, not in this session, but definitely even me, I would love if mine was reviewed, but maybe we're going to do that offline. So the first question, could you perhaps speak to the difference between in-house recruiters and external recruitment agencies? Also, do you maybe want to highlight the difference between a recruiter and a hiring manager?
I've kind of been on the both sides. I've been an in-house talent acquisition partner more recently. And before that, I worked in HR, but I worked at a recruitment company. So I wasn't doing agency recruitment myself, but I was supporting a business that did agency recruitment. So there is a lot of difference. An in-house talent acquisition partner is going to prioritize culture relevance, skill relevance, industry relevance, and they're going to take a really deep dive into who you are. And that first screening is going to be a lot more comprehensive because they're working directly with hiring managers on day to day. They're on the same team. They know what their hiring manager is like they know what their working style is like. They know what their communication style is like. And they also know what the project is like because they are, again, they're internal. They have visibility over, what the scope is, who the client is, what's needed. And they're going to be a lot more in depth in their search. Whereas when it comes to an agency recruiter, they also have a lot of information, but their priority might be a little bit speed over in depth. So when you're talking to an agency recruiter, that first conversation is going to be faster, really light. They're going to check a few boxes. They're going to see if you've done XYZ, and whatever they know from the client, from the hiring manager, on the culture, on the role, kind of personality, all of it, they are going to ask those questions. But they're going to move faster with it. So when you're talking to someone who is an internal talent acquisition partner, you really want to take your time and really want to give very thoughtful answers on your work, on your working style, on your how you would fit into this company that this internal recruiter is part of already. And you really want to ask those questions as well, like, hey, what is your company like? Because you work here. So, ask them about things that matter to you when you're choosing a company, because that also signals to me that this person's really intentional about where they want to end up, and they're not just looking for any job. They're building a career, they're building a long-term partnership with another company. So that thoughtfulness really goes a long way. When you're talking to an external agency recruiter, you want to focus more on your skills. You want to focus on what's relevant to the role, what you can do, so they can make a quick summary of your skills and push you forward to the next stages on the hiring manager, where then you can really elaborate on that thoughtfulness about, long-term partnership, understand what's important to that hiring manager, on that external agency side. And when it comes to the difference between a recruiter and a hiring manager, again, it really depends on where that recruiter is sitting. If it's an internal talent acquisition partner, they're going to be very close to the hiring manager, and they are going to be already in the know of what the hiring manager really prioritizes day to day, and they're going to be very fast in making that decision. And that decision is going to be very much aligned with what the hiring manager's decision might have been. So depending on just how close they work together, I think like the difference when you say what's the difference between a recruiter and a hiring manager, another thing I would say is though a recruiter might not be as technical as the hiring manager. So when you're talking to a recruiter, you want to keep the conversation more relevant to the business impact, more relevant to the functional side of things, as opposed to diving deep on the technical side of things. And then when you're past the recruiter, you're going to that technical interview stage and the hiring manager interview stage. That's when you can do a really deep dive on your technical capabilities, because the chances are the recruiter is going to hear all of it, they're going to write all of it down, but they're not going to get enough information that they need to make a decision, because they don't, like, for me, I don't know what Apex and LWC does. I know that these concepts exist. I talk to my hiring manager enough to understand, enough to have a conversation with a candidate, but I don't know the details of these, right? What I want to see is, would you be a good fit for my team, for this project, for my hiring manager? So that's where you focus on when you're talking to a recruiter. And when you're talking to a hiring manager, you focus more on the details of the technicalities. And then even with that, the details of technicalities tied back to business impact, it's always going to be tied back to business impact. So that's kind of my answer to the question. I hope it helps.
Yeah, it does. And from a screening perspective, how much does ATS keyword matching influence shortlisting versus actual project impact on the CV?
Depends. Again, this is not something that you can have insight into as a candidate, but it really depends on what that company and that recruiter prioritizes. There are companies who will see that 80% or over ATS match is the candidates that I'm talking to. Anyone below that, I'm not going to be talking to them, because again, if I have 100 applications, am I going to have time to talk to every single one of those 100 people? I'm not. And so I want to be intentional about my time. I want to be intentional about my candidates' times, and only talk to people that have that high ATS matching. So it does make a difference. For me personally, I use a tool that does not give me an ATS match. So I do look at every single resume and read through every single resume, but that is a me case, right? That is not what's standard in the industry. For my previous company that I worked for, we did that 80% ATS match benchmark, and anyone who was above that was getting a call. Anyone who was below that was not getting a call. So putting in work in your resume to align it to those ATS keywords is going to matter in this space. And also you have the tools to do it, like just a ChatGPT, put it in, put the job description and put your resume in, have it rewrite. I'm going to be honest, I was applying for jobs last year and I wrote like 100 resumes, but I did it very fast because I had the tools. I was taking ChatGPT, realigning my resume and just changing those few bullets in a Canva template and sending it out. And I did get calls, you know. So it makes a difference and you should do it, is what I would say.
Thank you, Harsh. I see a lot of engagement in the chat. Thank you, Renee, for answering some of the questions. I say Ashton is right there answering the questions. I'm so happy. Yes, Ashton.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I just wanted to add to that too. To Harsha's point, I've been a part of like both environments, where there is the ATS matching and you can do the keywords. But I've also been in roles where no, like, hey, if I'm reaching out to somebody, I'm looking at every single resume, and I like to give my perspective from the candidate side of things. It's like number one, I did share a link in there. Etsy has a ton of ATS resume slash CV templates that you can use. And from my perspective, the way that I look at an applicant tracking system is number one, not the enemy, because if your experience or the things that you're doing fit with the role, then you're going to get recognized no matter what. But the way that I look at it, and from my experience, is that I used an ATS resume, like formatted resume, from a formatting perspective. And so, what do I mean? So, number one, I hope as you all are applying to positions, upload the PDF version of your resume, because what that does, that word cannot do, is that when you upload a PDF version, it locks the formatting that you have for that resume. So sometimes when your resume, if it's in Word or a different type of format, when it makes it to the applicant tracking system, it can do some clunky things with it and put information where it's not supposed to be. And in that same vein, it may grab information from where it's not supposed to be. So I know everybody has had the experience of, hey, the application that I'm applying to asked me to upload my resume, and then it asks me to spell out each and individual experience that's already on my resume. That's because the company that you're applying to also does not trust the applicant tracking system to pull the information where it's supposed to pull it from. And so one thing that I make sure to always do is that for my personal information on my resume, yes, I edit it and I create it in Word. So my number, like my phone number, my email, my LinkedIn, URL, they all are separated by at least a line in the resume. So then that way, once I save it as a PDF and the formatting is locked, and then I upload it to the applicant tracking system, more often than not, like 90% of the time, it is going to pull the information that it needs to pull where it needs to pull from. Because if not, again, that's just one more hurdle that the recruiter has to work through. Oh, okay, what's their phone number? What city and state are they in? It just makes it much more convoluted. So that's the only thing that I wanted to add to what Harsh was saying. But yes, of course, take all the advice that she gave as well.
Thank you, Ashton.
Thank you, Harsh. I have one for you. And then
Mm-hmm.
guys, feel free to raise your hand so that you can ask the questions directly. So when tailoring a CV, should we quantify automation impact? For example, reduced manual automation work by 30% using Flow. And if someone has already built personal projects or org solutions, how should those be presented professionally in a CV?
Love it. Yes, absolutely. You should, quantify your outcomes in that 30%. The 30% is a high number for reducing manual data entry and stuff like that. So those things matter. And when you're saying that you've done it in a personal project, you might not have done it in a business scenario or in a company, so you don't have an idea of exactly how much that number would be. you can do it in a simulated environment. Just think when you were designing this personal project, how many users were you thinking? What kind of process were you automating? Take again, do some research in the industry, see what the things are, what people are doing, and what their impact, what their current state is. If you can get that information, you can simulate just an sorry, you can simulate a number, and you can very clearly say that work done on flow that would have resulted in this much percentage of impact. So as long as you're clear about the fact that you're using it as a arbitrary simulation and not you have not tested it out in a real world scenario, you should put it in. And again, use the tools that you have available to do the research and try to model it. And if you can model it, put it in, but phrase it in a way that it is clear that it is a modeled and it's not actual in a company scenario, you know.
Thank you. Thank you, Harsh. Uh-huh. Maybe one final question. We have common interview question. How how do you stand up to date with the trends in the industry? Which trends should we be following? It's already answered. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Harsh has her own perspective, but for myself, one thing, two of the things that are very important to me, just due to my role, are human resources and then leadership, right? Because I'm an aspiring HR leader. And so there's one example of an organization that I subscribe to that's constantly producing articles on leadership. It's named Corn Ferry. I went to their website. It's very easy. Put your first name, last name, email, and then you'll see all the data that they're producing, and information they're producing. But also, if I'm on LinkedIn, which I'm very active on LinkedIn, if I see, like a promoted or boosted post that has like a data and a downloadable PDF where I can see, hey, here's some of the market trends within, human resources. I'm diving deep into that information. I'm a little nerdy when it comes to data. I love it. I like making data-driven decisions. But those are some of the ways to kind of understand the industry and what's happening and how it's going to impact certain organizations is by going directly to the company's website, subscribing to that, and then also I put in there, always be sure to do research before entering an interview. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just go to Google and just type in XYZ company, what the name of that company is, and then right behind that I'll put in the news, and it'll bring up articles about, hey, some of the changes that they just made, if they had a transition in leadership, if their stock price is down and exactly why. So be prepared. I hate to say be prepared for any and every question, but I look at that as like one of my superpowers, right? And it's one of the ways to kind of get another leg up on the rest of the competition. Because if you're doing research about the industry, but then also specifically about the organization prior to the interview, then what it shows is, oh, again, they're not just looking for any job, but they've actually considered, okay, what would it mean for them to work here within this environment and in this industry. So yes, we focus on the technical knowledge and the skills that you have, but I always like to tell people, as they're interviewing you, you're also interviewing them. So for you to go into an interview and not know anything about their organization, it's kind of like, it's not good. I was going to use a phrase, I don't want to use it, but yeah, just make sure you're doing your research. And then I see Harsh put an answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the super relevant answer. Thank you, Ashton. I just want to add on the Salesforce ecosystem side, Salesforce is evolving very, very fast, and they're constantly releasing new products, new versions of existing products. You should be tapped into the ecosystem enough to know what's happening, what's new. What are the clients of Salesforce excited to adopt? What are they curious to adopt, but they're not quite sure yet? And what is Salesforce really pushing for adoption? Because, for example, Salesforce right now is pushing Agentforce a lot. Are clients really adopting it at the rate that Salesforce wants them to adopt? Maybe not really. How can you come in? if you know Agentforce, if you're at that point, can you take clients from this point of curiosity to seeing tangible outcomes and getting them on that kind of step ahead to actually implement? So just keeping in mind, what's going on in the Salesforce industry, there's always so much going on. Um, and talking about it, and also having goals for yourself, because maybe you're currently working on sales and service and experience. What are you trying to specialize in? What are you trying to learn next? As a recruiter who's working in a system integrator atmosphere, I want to know if people are interested to keep learning, because the space is going to keep evolving. Is the person that I'm talking to also bought into the fact that they have to keep evolving with it? What are their plans for their own growth? That's some of the things that I want to hear, and that's where your industry knowledge and your staying current on what's going on in the Salesforce world comes into play.
Thank you, Harsh. Giving this opportunity to anyone who would like to raise their hand and speak, ask a question. And interesting, before as people come, today I was just going through a job posting, and then the last sentence was, if your CV is more than 2 pages, you will not hear from us. Do you have like a standard page length for a CV that is preferred by recruiters? Could it be 2 pages, 3 pages, or depends?
I like short CVs, but I also understand that people have done so much work that cannot fit on one page. So 1 to 2 pages is ideal. Anything over 2 pages would be a little too much.
Okay. Thank you. Today we have really covered a lot and way much beyond my expectations. Thank you so much. So too much work without play makes Jack a dull girl. So we are moving to the session that we really waited for. So I'm grateful the 41 of you stayed with us. So we are going to play Slido. We have a few questions and well, let's review the session first. Margaret, how was the session in one word? Please tell us how the session was, and then we can move and give you the vouchers. We have so many vouchers to share with you. So I hope you stayed with us. You are attentive because we are going to, this feedback is coming, a lot of feedback. Very impactful, insightful. As we keep on giving the feedback, scan the QR code, join Slido. You can either scan the QR code, you can use the code and follow the join instructions so that we can play the challenge. Insightful, very impactful, eye-opening, thoughtful, outstanding, constructive. Thank you so much, guys, for the feedback. And definitely, Hash and Ashton would love to have you back as many times as possible. And now when you come back again, when you review our CVs, you'll be like, yes, yes, they really learned from the first session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well. You've all been a wonderful audience, and the engagement from all of you, it just makes it so much exciting to be here, and would love to keep sharing my insights whenever I can.
Yes, thank you. So the link is on the chat. Click on the link so that we can play. Please. Keep on joining, fill in your details so that we can start. Check on your internet because it's all about your fingers. It's all about your internet. So, yeah. We have so many. We have so many. We have so many people. If you're part of the team, don't join.
Yes, yes, please. I say Nikita there. Nikita, please.
If you're part of the team, please. Is everyone ready? Please give me a thumbs up if we are all in so that we can start. We are 42 of us. We have 42. We have 26. Let's get to 33 and then we can start playing. Everyone wants vouchers, of course. So
Angela,
28.
Angela, should
Yes.
our guest speakers also participate? We should let them have some fun, yeah? Right?
Are we participating as well?
Let's see how strong the internet in their country is.
Okay.
That is fine.
I know South Africa will say it was my internet. Nigeria. So we have 29. We have 1 more minute and then we can start playing. One more minute. Okay, so we have 29 people playing. So may the best win. Let's start. So we have the questions. We have 4 answers. So you're going to select. Okay, go ahead. Which Salesforce cloud is primarily designed for managing sales, pipelines, and opportunities? A 100%. Okay. Sales cloud. We have, okay.
Just a minute, Angela. I need to figure out on how we're going to show the results. Okay. I'm stuck, guys, but I think this is the correct answer.
Yes, 100% got it right. Okay, so to the next one. Yes, we have the leaderboard. We're showing the first 5. Next. Which of the following would most strengthen a beginner's Salesforce CV? We have just gone through that. Someone is saying it's too quick. Yeah, because the questions are easy. So it has to be as quick as possible. And you're getting all of them, including a hands-on project describing business impact. Thank you so much. Leaderboard, please. Ooh, thank you. We have Brian on top now. Next on. Why is being part of a community like Nuru Jamii Kenya important for early career Salesforce professionals? Nine- 95% provides mentorship, shared learning, networking, and real growth opportunities. I feel like there's 5% playing for fun. Thank you. We have Marion at the top. I love it. Let's play next. In Salesforce terminology, a lead becomes what after a qualification? Easy. 95% again, opportunity. I still have my 5%. Okay. Hey, the leaderboard is changing. Olajuwon, thank you. Okay, new people coming up real quick. Thank you. Next, which CV bullet point is strongest? %78 automated lead assignment, reducing response time by 25%. Okay. And that is correct. Leaderboard, Olajuwon. Thank you. Play next. When was Nuru Jamii Kenya founded? This is a bonus question for everyone. This should have been 5 seconds. 2025, 19. Okay. Yes, Nuru Jamii Kenya was founded in 2025, last year. So, Marion, Olajuwon, thank you so much. Next, in a Salesforce interview, when asked about a project, what structure is most effective? %95 STAR method, situation, task, action, result. That's the correct answer. Thank you. Let's see who we have. We have Marion. Okay. She has good internet and a sharp mind. Okay. Next. Which soft skill do recruiters consistently rank among the most important? coding, dancing, communication, fast typing, communication, 95. We have dancing. Hey, thank you. 95. Okay, that's the correct answer. Let's see. Aha, Olajuwon and Marion and Sarah is coming up pretty good. Okay, next. Salesforce is mainly known as a type of accounting, social media, CRM, video editing, done. 100% CRM. Thank you. Marion and Olajuwon. And then the final question. The final. Is it the final? Which Salesforce feature is now the recommended tool for automation? Approval, flow builder, process builder, workflow rules. 91% flow builder. Yes, it is flow builder.
Should we reveal the winner now?
They're all at 10 over 10. Do we have one more?
No.
Okay, that's fine then.
Maybe
Let's see
maybe you can ask them. You can ask them one more
I can ask them one more from my end. How will they answer?
in the comment section.
Okay.
The best.
The one I want to break the tie. So approximately how many companies globally use Salesforce? Approximately how many companies globally use Salesforce? $150,000, 5 million, 3 million, 200K, 5 million. Ooh, couple of answers. We are playing for speed. Okay. Well, let's see what we have. Margaret, we are playing for how many vouchers?
5.
We are playing for 5. Okay. So that's how it is. We have number 1, it's Olajuwon, Marion, Johnson, Sarah Delia, and G. Thank you so much, guys. If you've won a voucher, please reach out to us with your email, and we are going to share it with you. And congratulations on your win. Yes, please send a message with your full name, your email. Someone is saying fast 10. We will do it again and again. So don't you worry, guys. But thank you so much. So at this point, I would just like to welcome Margaret so that she can thank our speakers properly for us, And thank you as well. Welcome, Margaret.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. Thank you so much for joining, for everyone for joining in, and also to our speakers. Like, this has been a very eye-opening session. I've learned so much that I didn't even know. I'm so glad we had this session, and I wanted it to be more like we even go for more than 2 hours, but time is not on our side. Of course, we'll have another session. However, it has been a great session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ashton. Thank you, Ash, for coming in. Welcome to Nuru Jamii Kenya. In Kiswahili we say karibu sana, which means welcome. Yeah, and thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that's all I can say. And also to our winners, congratulations. Angela, maybe we can do six
One more.
winners.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can do 6. It's okay.
Yeah. So the 6 winners, the team will share an email where you will with details which you will share, and it will be communicated to you for the next steps. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Yes, Johnson.
My apologies, guys. I just have one question before we close the session. The question is based on a lived experience for me, basically. So what had happened was a recruiter reached out to me, and then from that point, I was working for their client, and then it happened that the client decided to pull in the plug to say, no, we no longer need your services. That was after 2 weeks or so. And then my question is, what is then our recourse as candidates, as the employees, to say, if they pull the plug, that's it, and you just without a job from there. So what is our recourse as employees? Thank you.
Could you repeat the question or let me know if I've got it correctly? So you heard from a recruiter about a role, then the client that they were recruiting for, they pulled the plug on the deal, and the recruiter told you that the job opening doesn't exist at the time?
Yeah, so basically after the client said, we no longer need your services, that was it. That was the end of the job. So what is our recourse? That is the question. What can we do? How can you protect ourselves from such?
That is more of a question for a legal expert than a talent acquisition partner. I would start by saying that. But see what you have. If you had a contract with them, see what the contract terms are and consult a lawyer to see if there is any protection for you in that contract. And also, when you're signing a contract, just review the contract really well and see if you are okay with the terms that they have put in, because once you've signed it, you are kind of obligated to follow those terms. But definitely consult, if you have someone in your network who is a legal expert, definitely consult them in those situations.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that answer, Harsh. Yeah, just making sure that going into the situation, you just have, all the details, because that'll be your ammo as you begin to speak to anybody from a legal perspective. And on the back end, definitely just also get as many details as you can from the recruiter, because in the event that the decision was made solely based on the person you were working for, and it didn't have anything to do with like performance related issues or like anything that they did against you personally, you'll want to know that, and then they should be personally invested because it may not have worked out for that company or that client, but again, unless it was performance related or anything like that, they should be invested and incentivized to get you employed again, right? So you want to have as much information as you can, both coming into as well as going out of that situation, because that'll help you tremendously.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashton and Harsh. It's been a pleasure having you, and we'll definitely reach out to you again and again, please. Thank you. So please, if you've not followed us on LinkedIn, be sure to do. You can scan the codes. We also have a WhatsApp group, and our YouTube is up. All these videos will be uploaded on YouTube. So please scan the QR and subscribe. Thank you so much.
Yeah, one more thing. My people, you know how we do it. Let's share to the world what has happened today, the insights. yeah, please, and follow us while at it.
Thank you so much. You can play the music.
Work. Nimekuwa famous for years na ina perks. Mayangin waligrow akinipigia wana rap. Hakuna kitu neza niambia na get busy. Naziletanga vile unataka nizibring. Niko busy na kujudi what you want. Wakipichi wana try kuingia kwa mix. Busy na kujudi what you want. Namba zote busy. Busy sana busy. Busy na kujudi what you want. Niko busy. Siku zote busy. Busy kama busy. Busy na kujudi what you want. I'm not going to run the spring. What you want? What you want?
I'll sign out then. Bye, team. Thank you so much for a lovely session. I'll sign off as well.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.